You can plug into your. You can.
Hello.
So that's the way. So next. So once we announce it to you, you can come and present it. Just
Hello, 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 hello. It is time to get started. Everyone find your seat, please.
I'm an unofficial photographer. Gotta do something.
Everyone have a seat. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes.
Okay. David, do you have the Zoom? Are you in Zoom?
I do have a Zoom. I should get them right.
You have the Zoom link, right? That's my wife.
Yeah, we might.
Already got the notification.
Yeah.
I recognize you.
1 minute warning. 1 minute warning.
David's not ready with the
First floor.
and then come upstairs. Go through security, then come upstairs.
Security will direct them. Tell them to go to the Microsoft Center.
Yeah, Microsoft. No, don't do that. No, I need to. Oh, don't do that. Yeah, the code.
And then people are dialing in. Are you sick?
No, no, no.
My mom was, I told her that I was going to see. And so she was on.
Where are you guys going? Come back here. We're not waiting for you. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for giving up your Tuesday evening and to learn something new. My name is David. I work for Microsoft, which I guess makes me your host tonight. And I have a couple of announcements. One, probably some folks will want to use the restroom, and I'll tell you that it is go out this door and turn left. It's right there where I'm pointing. And also, now would be an excellent time to silence your cell phones. Good. I also want to announce that 1 week from tonight, Tuesday, August 12th, I think. What's tonight? Today's the 5th. Okay. 12th is the Chicago Cloud Computing User Group, and I'm hosting that. We'll have a speaker here. He'll be talking about Microsoft Fabric, which is a data platform hosted in Microsoft Azure. And if you want to find out more information, please register I created a tiny URL just a few minutes ago, and I wrote it on the board here, and on the board here it is tinyurl.com/Chicago Cloud Meetup. So go there and register. We'd love to have you. If somebody wants to get on the Wi-Fi, not that there's any reason to, because there's fascinating topics up here. There's a sheet floating around here with the credentials to get onto the Wi-Fi. Right here. It's right there.
MSFT guest.
Yeah, so network is MSFT, short for Microsoft, guest, and then it'll ask you for an event attendee code. And that event attendee code is all lowercase MSEvent815. I'm going to set this right here if anybody needs to look at it.
Right there.
Right where?
MS event 815. You can read it. It's kind of signy.
That's all I have. Let's get this meeting started.
Hello everyone, thanks for coming. This is one of the interesting event we had tried to host here, and it's supported by AI Alliance and AITP, and thanks Paul and the AI Alliance team to host this event. So this is most about creating a collaboration and open ecosystem for the enterprise and industry and research organizations together. So we have one of the opening statements coming out from the AI Alliance team, sponsored event, research.net. And one of the key things of open development platform is to design and accelerate AI research and product innovation through agentic automation. So today what we will do is we are going to have a flow of event is we'll have a startup AI, all the innovation startup coming here and presenting it. We have two startup founders, David Labo and Ajit Mahapatra, who will present about their startups, what they are doing right now, and then we'll go to the next slot of events. So I will hand over to David to go and present his startup at this point of time.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Hello, everyone. My name is David Lobo, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about Workmate, an executive assistant for you and everyone you work with. All right. So we all get messages with seemingly innocuous phrases like, let's find a time to connect, or Let's catch up soon. When are you free? And on the surface, while these little small phrases seem straightforward, a simple request like this can unleash a Pandora's box of administrative work that can easily derail your day or even your week. So let me paint you a picture of what happens next. You get one of these requests, you check your calendar, you do some mental gymnastics to get time zones locked down, then you shoot off an email with some slots, and then you sit patiently and wait. And a few days later, you hear back. Unfortunately, none of the times that you proposed actually work, and then you go more back and forth, and after multiple exchanges, you finally lock down a time, and then you hold your breath and pray that nobody has to reschedule. And remember, this is just for one meeting, and for many people in this room, you're doing upwards of 20, 30 meetings a week. And so you can imagine how painful this can be. So, we're a small group over here. I want to do a little bit of audience participation. How many people here in this room currently have an EA, an executive assistant? All right, there's a couple people in this room. All right, so keep your hands raised. Now, of the people that have an EA here, how many of you have your direct reports also have an EA? So yeah, effectively, maybe one person, but effectively no one. It's a very rare instance that I've ever heard of someone like this. But really what I'm trying to get at here is like 99% of the world is without an assistant. And so that means that at least 5 to 10 hours per week goes straight to admin work every single week, and that's just life. It's the cost of doing business, and Workmate is here to change that. So, Workmate is your executive assistant. It's an AI teammate that schedules your meetings, optimizes your calendar, and prioritizes your preferences. So, without further ado, let's just hop into my email and take a look at a few ways that you can interact with Workmate. Let's see here. Bear with me. Okay, so here's a little demo email that's connected to Workmate. I'm going to set up an email, let's say a follow-up call with one of the organizers. Let's say Subroto. Let me go ahead and pull up his email. Let's see here. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and add my Workmate Jill. All right, so let's just to speed things along, I'll do a little text or voice text over here. Hey, Subroto, thank you so much for organizing the event. Really amazing crowd. Would love to meet when we're back in New York. I'm adding my Workmate Jill to handle it, and yeah, that's it. Let's see. Cool. Little spelling mistake that I'll correct. Don't worry, that's not Workmate. And I'm just going to shoot this off. And that's it. Very, very simple interaction. I loop in my Workmate the same way I would a human executive assistant, and that's it. The meeting is handled. I'm done. Now, this seems like particularly trivial to do, but let's take a look at another more complicated example to understand the impact that having an EA could have on your life. So here's Jeremy. Jeremy's a marketing consultant that I work with. Let's take a look at this massive email chain that happened after I looped in my Workmate. Here we go. Jeremy, once a meeting was scheduled, Jeremy comes back, like sometimes don't work for him anymore. Honestly, Jeremy's just being kind of difficult, and all of this goes back and forth and back and forth. He adds people, just a mess. This interaction is just to illustrate all of the stuff that happens within a single email thread to get one meeting scheduled, and this is all happening going back and forth with my assistant Jill. These are normally things that would have pulled me out of my deep work or the things that are most important and back into my inbox to handle this busy work. And this is the things that we're trying to get off our plate with Workmate. I'll show you one more example of how Jill, my workmate, is proactive. So let's see here. I have this email pulled up already. So you can see here, I'm just, let me try and zoom in so you can see. So here's a daily preview that Jill sends me on a day-to-day basis. Here you can see my schedule for the day, and Jill's proactively identified a conflict. I just reach out to Jill the same way I would a human assistant to just resolve the conflict. So if she needs more context, also we've anthropomorphized Jill. She can handle whatever it is that needs to happen next. And again, it's not on my plate. I've gotten it off, and it's out of sight, out of mind for me. Let me flip back to the presentation here. Give me a sec. Cool. So the last thing I just want to mention here, because looking at emails is not particularly exciting. It's just a reminder that Workmate is an AI teammate. And like a great teammate, your workmate understands your preferences and learns over time. And that means your workmate understands whether you prefer calls in the morning or the afternoon, which meetings are a priority and which ones can be moved, whether you like to protect your 6 to 7 p.m. slot to have dinner with a loved one or go for a walk to wind down after a long day. It's not one size fits all. It's personalized, intelligent support that gets better over time. So for the past 6 months, we've been building Workmate alongside founders, investors, and other busy executives. And as you might imagine, like we kind of saw in this room here, most people that have signed up to experience Workmate don't have an EA. And so the effect of having an EA on their lives has been absolutely profound. And what surprised us the most is that even human EAs and chiefs of staff love Workmate. Why? Because, as you can imagine, Workmate handles their mundane work and scheduling tasks so that they can focus on higher value and, frankly, more interesting work. This isn't about replacing the 1% of human EAs, or sorry, the human EAs supporting the 1% of executives out there in this world. It's about augmenting the workforce. It's about acceleration. And so today, to conclude here, we've built an AI executive assistant focused on scheduling, but this is just the beginning. We're building a future where an AI teammate handles all of the busy work so we can focus on what matters most. The work that requires taste, creativity, judgment, the work that inherently makes us human and drives our businesses forward. And now, I have to end a presentation with an ask. If you're a leader and want to give who wants to give their team the executive administrative support that they deserve, please reach out to me. As you can imagine, I will loop in Jill, and she'll find the perfect time for us to meet. And if you're not that type of leader and you just want to try out Workmate for yourself, you can try it for free online at workmate.com. Thank you.
Anybody has any question?
Yes.
When you got a schedule with 10, 15 people that always have a conflicting schedule. And not only do they have a conflicting schedule, but you need to get the meeting done in the next 48, 72 hours.
Yeah, so there's this is just for those who didn't hear it. The question is, how do you handle very complicated scheduling where there isn't necessarily a specific time slot that's available? And so we do this in a couple of ways today, and frankly, it's probably the messiest part about scheduling, and the part that it's the reason I think that it hasn't been like completely solved already, which is there's a lot of context associated with who's more important, so like who's more important in the organization, what's the pecking order, who's most important to be on this specific meeting at this specific time, who's optional. And so the way that we handle this today is by providing as much context to Jill. So whoever's trying to organize the meeting, the way we instruct our users, maybe a 15-person overlap is maybe a little bit harder to do, but we tell our users, hey, the more context you provide Jill, she will be able to understand that and take action based on that context. So for example, who's actually super important to that meeting? Whose meetings can actually be moved? If you provide that context, which again, seems a little bit burdensome, but it's it's kind of on the plate of the people today to handle. So we are able to handle those sorts of scenarios, but it's a use case that we're building on.
And so you can build the priority as to which is more important for each meeting, or do you have to restart that from scratch each time?
Well, I think there's a short answer to your question, which is you kind of have to do it each time, and that's because not every meeting follows the same priority. For example, David's in Chicago this week, so we're going to prioritize meetings for David and his calendar. But I'm actually not the most important person. There's another person. My boss is in Chicago, so whose meeting is most relevant or whose time is most important to be in that meeting? All of this stuff is very contextual, which is why I can't give you a very easy answer. And so and it's not perfect today, but it's something that we're working on.
Thanks.
So we saw the conflict between Jeremy and Jill, right? What if there's a conflict between Jill 1 and Jill 2? How is that handled?
Yeah, good question. This is, luckily we haven't had to encounter, as an early stage startup, we haven't had to encounter everyone with their own workmate. There's a few ways that we handle this. For our public product, which is like Jill at workmate.com, there are people in this world who have the same assistant. And the way that we handle this today is if you have workmate, if two people have workmate and they want to schedule, you have the ability to just automatically book a meeting because two people potentially have been opted in. Now, obviously, there's privacy concerns or privacy considerations there, and so you have that control in your settings to be able to, you can say, people from my company, yeah, sure, that's great, that's fine. Otherwise, if somebody wants to meet and I haven't opted in, then maybe ask me if you want that to happen before actually going ahead and booking it. But the idea here is we're trying to reduce the number of steps that everyone, not just you, have to take for scheduling, but all of your guests that you want to meet with.
Has it ever, I'm so sorry, has it ever happened that so many tasks were there and Jill kept asking you, what do I do?
We haven't encountered an endless loop like that. We usually either, if it does overwhelm Jill, if she gets a little overwhelmed, she'll just toss it back to the executive. But it's very, very rare where Jill gets overwhelmed. She's very smart. But in those cases, we'll just say, hey, this is, for example, if Jill's followed up a few times because someone hasn't gotten back, she might jump in and say, hey, actually, do you mind following up with this person because I've reached out twice and I haven't heard back, rather than spam that person endlessly. Yeah.
What is your pricing model?
Our pricing model. So our current pricing model, it's a self-serve price, very similar. It's a self-serve pricing, SaaS pricing model, recurring revenue month over month. But what we're seeing is, and this is part of the ask here, which is, there are larger organizations who want Jill at their organization, and they have specific rules and preferences, and so we're actively trying to do these design partnerships so that we can set up a more enterprise offering, because the needs of some of these organizations, especially the internal scheduling, is kind of complicated. It's way more complicated than the typical Calendly use case where it's just, here's my booking link. But many people like us for that use case because it comes off as less rude than, hey, I would love to meet with you. Here, you book on my calendar, and if you don't respond, I'm going to ask you to book on my calendar again. Yeah, one-click integration, assuming that your organization enables permissions. Right today, the only thing we need access to is your calendar. So we're not reading all of your emails and all my email history. And even in the world in which you would like to give Jill an email address, or whomever at whatever email address at your company, have a workmate have an email address at your company. Even in that world, the only email address that we need access to be able to write messages back and forth is the workmate's inbox.
So last question. So is this only for scheduling meeting, or it can be take the notes also?
Great question. So today, as you can imagine, when you have one amazing teammate that is very capable of lots of things and you work well with them, you want to give them more responsibility. So we are starting with scheduling as the core pillar of the busy work use case, but there are many things associated with scheduling, and then beyond scheduling that we want our workmates to be able to handle, whether it's email management, note-taking, people ask for, booking travel. There's a million use cases because there's a lot of busy work that people don't want to do. And so we're really focused, at least for this year, to nail down the scheduling use case and the things associated with scheduling. So once there's a meeting, maybe there's an agenda and there's prep and maybe there's recording. But the idea here is, can we focus on one use case, nail it really well, and then who wants to work with who wants to work with 10 different vendors and point solutions? Workmate already has all the context. They understand who's who. They understand what's being worked on. And let's give that person or that workmate more responsibility.
Thank you.
So if there's any few more questions, we can have David can be available after this event is going on. If you want to meet somebody, can talk. And so thank you, David, for this wonderful introduction. And just to give a quick perspective of what we had planned for this event is we want to have the startups, which is the agentic world, and that is going, and a lot of people are seeing that. So we'll have two startups doing the same agentic world presentation. After David, we'll have Ajit, who is also have another startup on agentic AI. He's a co-founder on that. And then we have an exec panel there after that, because we want to also get a perspective from the enterprise execs about what's going on in the AI enterprise world and how things are coming up. And then we'll have students, which is the idea and concept we were kind of working with Ron on this event is like, can we get the students who are graduating, who are in this early world of AI, what they feel about AI when they're growing in the world of AI, right? So, and this is the right time. Everybody's school starting next week here and in many other places soon. So we'll get that perspective. And then we're going to have a small musical presentation from the team here, and then we'll have Ron present his launch event here, right? So I think coming next is Ajit presenting his startup and taking us to the next world of agentic AI. Share there, but yeah. Start mirroring it. Yeah, sounds good. If you are confident with this,
Hi everyone. So before I start the details about the company, I just want to introduce myself. I work at recently I worked at GSK, Glasgow Smith Kline. We have a big partnership team from Microsoft itself. We are working very closely with them. So I'm heading an AI team there, and one of my role is that whatever the AI's generative AI and agentic AI side, what are the initiatives coming enterprise level at GSK? That's what I'm driving. Most of the use cases, content generation, coding, what are the new things going on? That's where most of the things I'm involved recently. So with that say, so how FastPeer starts at my end as a startup. So my wife, actually, it started from my personal life. My wife is a licensed realtor. So she was spending a lot of times doing, all these paperwork and everything. So she told me that you are doing a lot of things in the agentic AI world. Why not you automate the stuff for me, So that's where my journey starts. I started building some products for her, and she started using it and seeing the benefit of it. Then I realized that this is the times I should go reach out to the different realtors and see how they are responding to this. So it started like month of April when I started doing beta testing with multiple realtors. So maybe I just go through the slides quickly. So when I try to reach them, they have given me a different perspective of it when it comes to the realtors' day-to-day challenge. My wife was more focused on the paperwork, but when I reached to the more advanced realtors who were interacting with their customers and doing a lot of things, they pointed out a few more areas where I need to focus on. Like they say that along the transactions, property management, marketing, the client service, what I highlighted here, those are the big spots where they see a lot of gaps. Even they have AI solutions. Those are more like a scattered one. So what are the tools, enterprise tools they are using it, they see that those enterprise tools are coming with a chatbot way, interaction, AI interaction, everything. But every time they have to go to multiple tools to complete their task, right? So that are the gaps, that's what they highlighted. And they had a wish list. Can they have a kind of a co-worker which will work like a personal assistant, do it, rather than they go to multiple chatbots, do the things, rather than just one chatbot where they can go and do all the activities. So I'll show you one person. Actually, I met John. He worked at Signature Realty, real estates. And he mentioned that there are two areas where they're mainly focusing on. The routine task, the tools. When it comes to the tools, there are different level of tools, like enterprise tools, what they use, like Zillow, MLS systems, and various tools where they maintain the documents. And they do a lot of social interactions. They use WhatsApp, Gmail, and other areas. And all these things they do, like they spend almost 40 hours of time every week on this process. And they pay a lot of amount, like $1,000 plus, not just for the chatbot assistants, but also for, maintaining the tools license, And they say that, as I said, they spend a lot of time on those different tools, browsing and interacting with the chatbot, but they feel like there is still a lot of gaps there. Why they need to use 10 chatbots when they can do it in one chatbot? So the big gap, they see that they are not getting enough time to find the new leads because of that one, because they are spending a lot of time on the routine task. And that's where I bought these solutions, what I call a digital coworker. So what is digital coworker? So it's a unified AI chatbot solutions where it's work like a personalized coworker, personal assistants. It, and also it calls the different modules as a kind of agents, AI agents. And that AI agent is more like a workflow. So look into the different routine tasks like contract creations, property search, inquiries, like customer support agent, marketing content generations, document management, all these different space. We built up agentic workflow solutions, which we are calling within the coworker chatbot, and that's simplified for them because they don't need to move to different places to do that. And we see very good results. They saved almost 25 hours of times weekly basis. Because of customer support agent, they are now not missing any leads because they are getting new leads, and that's helping them to generate the revenue. And they are saving a lot of cost saving in the tools also recently. I mean, if I talk about John, that's what the feedback I got it from him. I just want to highlight this part, co-working with AI. Now, as I said, that most of the use cases you see now, we are talking about chatbot, generative AI chatbot and everything, but those are more like informatives. It's not like action-based. So that's one gap. And the scattered solution, what I already said, multiple chatbots, different systems, different tools. And once you do the task and job, then that's done, right? You don't have any history or any adaptabilities to continue where they left it. So AI coworker, the idea of the AI coworker is to make it actionable. It work like the real teammate rather than just doing task and then forget, right? It try to learn and adapt. So that's exactly the coworker is. So we are trying to train the co-worker as part of this process through SLM model and trying to make sure that for that individuals, that co-worker get day-to-day basis, it gets matured. So that's the concept here. It's just to show the benefits they got it as part of the using these tools, right? Product level, we have a SaaS platform which is currently running in the Microsoft Azure cloud only. We have defined few areas like workspace, which is more about the platform where the cloud platform, I would say. They have a agentic space, data space, and other things. We have our own in-house products to fill the forms, to maintain the CRM and CMS. Agentic workflow is one of the things which we've done. All that integrated with the coworker in the chatbot. So that's where we stand here. And we already started onboarding almost 50 plus realtors from different realtor agency as of now in the traction point of view. Pricing model, we have two models, basic and premium. And enterprise plan we have, which is more like a, based on the user request, how much customization they want to do in overall solutions. But yeah, this is the current status. Yeah, so that's it. I mean, so if you want to know more about this product, please reach out to me. This is my LinkedIn scan copy of it. Thank you.
Can it potentially in the future do appraisals, or at least advice about other types of real estate functions that are connected, to the purchases of a home? Appraisals.
Yeah, I mean, we started with a few of those models, but I think that's something we are thinking of. We are discussing how to bring it there as a solution.
That's great.
Hi.
Hi.
Is this optimized for the buyer's market or the seller's market?
Till now, we have done only for the buyer's market, just for the residential part of it. But once we get the momentum on this side of it, then we'll think about the seller side also.
In the event that, let's say you have a client who's a buyer and they're looking for listings, how will this assistant navigate through your postings of like outdated?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different outdated things on Zillow.
Right. So we have a one agent called property search agent, which basically what it does, the realtor is going to type, hey, this is my client, the buyer, and he is looking for a 3 BHK in somewhere in the Chicago and with all different conditions. So once the realtor writes it in the chatbot, what it does, it goes and look in the different browsers, including Zillow, Realtors, and MLS systems, and try to find out the top list of the properties and say that list out in the chatbot and say that, hey, this is the top list, properties which your client is looking for, and do you want to send an email to the client? So all this process is like smooth now, because most of the times finding these properties, they spend a lot of time. Now it's like a couple of minutes time, they can finish it off.
Gotcha. So it's coordinating with the agent through their MLS?
That's right. So we, for this signature realty, we integrate with it's from the New Jersey. So we have integrated with the Garden State MLS system. And also we integrate with the Zillow. And that's what they're using for the timing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you for presenting. So you mentioned in the beginning the realtor client was using a solution stack of like $1,000 a month and different various disparate applications. Does this replace all of them, some of them, or does it integrate with them, or all of the above?
Yeah, so it's not going to replace the tools what they are using. It's going to be integrated with that. We have some in-house solutions like Fast Form, CRM systems, If they are already using the CRM in their side of it, we just integrate with their systems, and they get all the things through chatbot rather than just going to manually to the tools and to do the browsing. So that changes we have done, yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. If not, then I think thank you for
Thank you.
this wonderful presentation. Can you keep this? Keep it open. I'll have to see, yeah. Yeah. So this is another important panel we are having right now that will give you more perspective of what's going on in the industry. And then invite Paul to introduce the panelists, and then we will get the panel started right now. So Paul, thank you for arranging this.
Okay, thank you. I'm Paul Dittman from AITP. I'm going to introduce the moderator for the panel, Dr. Lance Fortnow. He's the inaugural dean of the College of Computing at Illinois Institute of Technology, which is now going by the name of Illinois Tech. Come on up. I think you get to sit on these funny chairs there, so don't fall off.
I'll sit on the corner here. They were all here.
I'm here.
You're here.
Hi. Where's Rico? We made it.
We made it. Okay, so we only have half an hour for this panel, not nearly enough time. So I'm just going to quickly introduce our panelists, and we'll get right into it. This is what?
Oh, I was going to take the mic.
Oh, you want to introduce? You can introduce yourselves quickly.
Hi, I'm Katie Heupel. I lead AI strategy and AI governance for CNA Financial. We're a commercial insurance corporation headquartered here in Chicago.
Kevin Rooney, I'm the CIO for West Monroe. We're a 2,000-person business and technology consulting firm, also based in Chicago.
Rajeeve Kaul. I retired a few days back. I was the was the Global Chief Revenue Management Officer for McDonald's.
Okay, well, welcome here. I just want to thank Ron for inviting me here and Paul for organizing all the panelists. So let's just start right where we are today. What one, can you just name a one AI innovation that's really going on in your company or whatever you can talk about, and what kind of technology you've been using for it?
Thank you. So I was shocked when I joined a commercial insurance company and realized that most of the way we do business is still emailing spreadsheets around and sending requests. And so we're seeing just tremendous lift from the basics of using document ingestion, AI to pull relevant data out of attachments, turn it into structured data, help us make decisions more effectively. It's a combination of custom solutions that we've built, and we've been doing it for a while, but generative AI opens up a lot more capabilities. And also just giving everybody in the company access to an AI chatbot. We use Microsoft Copilot, shout out Microsoft here, and all of our employees are finding really innovative ways to do doc-related tasks, which we're seeing huge lift across the company. I think we've had 800,000 transactions against our internal chatbot and more than $3 million worth of value generated even just this year.
So as a CIO for a business and technology consulting firm that is all tech-led folks, we are also buried in emails and Excel. So it's not insurance. I think it's all in industries in terms of where we start. West Monroe is 2 years into our generative AI journey. We started, and if you think about what's most important for service, the first thing we started off with is how do we make sure our consultants are spending all their time with their clients? So we started with service chatbots to really make sure that any provisioning, any issues that they have are resolved as fast as possible. Chatbot stuff reduced, and we were able to reduce our cost for service by about 40% year over year. So straight to SG&A results for EBITDA. We went then into, as consultants, people who produce a whole lot of knowledge and no one can ever find it. So we have a platform that is about knowledge discovery, connecting all of our core systems. And so suddenly people can know this deliverable for this utility as a company relates to this offering that we did. And oh, by the way, if you talk to Paul, because they really know about this. So we've connected everything from HR to our SharePoint to our emails to Salesforce and all of those things together for search. So connecting that world. Once we had those together, we really started to point towards, we also have our chatbot stuff. So working with tons and tons of documents, summarize it, generate stuff, accelerate emails, accelerate communications, synthesize all our work with all our consultants. It's no longer that writer's block start, right? So a lot of collaborative work with the platform that we have. What I'm most excited about is we've now turned that into how do we deliver faster, better for our clients. So we now are able to do things. Our most recent product is one called Intellio Hopper. So big, nasty problems for large companies are things like data migration into new platforms. So leveraging AI to really take what we've always been able to do and modernize a platform through kind of a consistent workflow with a human in the loop. Those types of things over and over that we are able to do for clients, suddenly those messy problems that would be years, we've been able to accelerate those and make those doable for our clients and really add value.
Thank you. I'll speak generally. I won't speak for McDonald's. No longer work there, so can't do that. Did write a textbook on machine learning, AI in marketing and sales a few years back, so kind of understand a little bit about the subject, even though I'm not from the IT field. I'm more on the applied capabilities. All the problems that you're talking about are really meaningful to businesses to solve. A lot of the focus, as I look across companies, has been on a lot of promises, which early stage outcomes are mostly across companies focused on productivity and efficiency gains. So if you think about a business and you think about profit and loss statement, there is revenue you make by selling, there's costs you incur, and then there's the residue, which is the income. As a business, you want to make more money. So this is a very viable area to go after, which is how do I connect disparate databases? How do I make things more efficient, which is the two solutions and product technologies that you saw, right? You're not seeing yet, at least in the few industries that I look at from retail, distribution, and so on, right? You're not seeing yet so much of an impact on the revenue side. But I think that's because that side is a little more complicated to impact. The productivity side gains are much easier to get. 2 years ago, you saw a lot of noise around it. Now you're seeing more use cases, right? I connect these workflows. The agent is able to read unstructured information, write a query back into the database, bring information back, automate that entire work process, right? So I think we are probably in the early stages of the journey, I would say.
All right. Thanks. Let me jump ahead a little. Besides the technology, what kind of organizational changes are you seeing because of AI?
We've done a couple of interesting things, in my opinion. So one of the things is we just launched a whole new team at CNA that didn't exist before that's called Digital Workplace Enablement. And so these are teams, this team creates general purpose productivity tools like meeting note bots and chat bots, and they're the single source that owns them. It's a huge backlog. Everybody wants tools like the ones that we saw demoed here today. You know, every day I probably have 5 people come to me with ideas about things we could do with AI, and they're all right. Like almost every use case you can imagine is actually a pretty interesting use case for AI. So we need more capacity, people focused, especially on general use tools that can benefit the entire organization. So we're putting some more formal ownership and attention behind that. We're also obviously investing in our engineering capabilities to build more AI solutions and communities of excellence and things like that. And when it comes to hiring and upskilling, we're navigating the whole people cheating on interviews with AI thing also. And it's this interesting dynamic of you actually want developers who are using AI and who are comfortable with it, but you don't necessarily want them cheating on the interviews with it. So is it like one in person and one remote where they're allowed to use the AI tool or whatever the case might be? So we're trying to figure some of that out kind of as we go.
Am I on? No. There we go. All right. In terms of AI adoption is just like everything else we deal with from a technology standpoint is just as much about a people challenge as anything. So you are asking people to change the ways they work. You have to, so adoption has to be a little bit about what's in it for them. It has to be about making sure that they understand the tools, understand the why, know how to use them, and are incentivized to make those changes. So we have a whole work stream in our AI Center of Excellence around the AI adoption. For example, and it's different in each organization. So if you can think about us as a consulting company, typically you're measured by how many hours you spend with your clients, because that's what quote unquote generates revenue. It's really the value that we deliver to our clients that generates revenue. That said, they're measured by the number of hours. So why suddenly you have someone who can do task A in 100 hours and another person takes 500 hours, suddenly they look like a poor performer. So the adoption of it has to be really thought about carefully. It has to be modeled by leaders. You have to have standards in terms of the ethical use of AI. There's a lot around here that you have to think about holistically across the organization to get people to buy in and actually have that real business outcome and that business impact.
And to tag on to that, you're seeing change happen differently. So I travel a lot internationally the last 10 years. In societies where you have younger workforces, you're seeing a lot faster change happen. Chicago is a little harder to change, I've generally noticed. You hop across into Philippines or into India or into Korea, you will see a lot more pull towards new capabilities, tools, and ways of doing business. It goes back to what you said, which is you've got people that have done things a certain way. I can tell you, I grew up with using programming languages before Python came into place, right? So for me, it's so much easier to go to something that I'm familiar with for 20 years or 10 years versus a new capability or technology that comes up, right? So you've got to keep that in mind as you think about. Organizations are in the earlier stages, as I've seen, of changing how they are structured, and that is a domino that hasn't gained traction yet. So when you think about innovation and adoption, we are not on the vertical path yet. We are in the earlier proving out stages, right? That doesn't mean it'll be a linear path that you'll follow, right? At some point, you'll build enough momentum around capabilities that things will move.
Okay, thanks. We have a lot of young people in this audience, and so I'd like to ask a question about how should young people prepare themselves for the AI-powered future that awaits them?
I was listening to a really good podcast today, actually, that was talking about how young people are probably the best equipped out of all of us, that have the most to gain and are starting from a totally blank slate. So the rest of us are relearning how we do our jobs, and all of you are learning for the first time how to do them. And so I think, you know, I spoke with Girls Who Code earlier this week. Like, it's such an exciting time. There's so many cool things happening. And I wish I had become a developer. So I have a computer science undergrad. I wish I had become a developer when such cool tools were available, because how amazing that you can instantly get help, somebody talking at your level to help you troubleshoot your code or explain how something works. You just can't rely on it to become too much of a crutch so that you're not still learning it yourself. But my advice is lean in, experiment with it. It's a great way to differentiate yourself in your job applications, in your university applications, if you've got a project that you've created and something you've published. And with vibe coding and with AI-enabled development, it's easier than ever, but it's not totally easy, right? Like, there's still technical elements of it that need to be done. So get in there and play with it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it this way before, but my daughter, who just graduated college, had her first in-person interview today. And I texted her, I said, be excited, be curious, and know your value. So I think those things apply, especially with new technology. I think they say the pace of change is never going to be slower than it is today. That's getting harder and harder for me to fathom, but it's true. In terms of the tools out there are getting faster. you're using a whole bunch of compute power, but we can get into that later. But definitely lean in, understand them, know that they augment what you bring from the human element, and just give you the advantage, right? No, I think Scott Galloway once said, "No, Gen AI isn't coming to take your job, but someone who knows AI is." We can get into that philosophically, whether that's true or not, but it's the positive thought about this in terms of the changing environment. So,
expectations will change with time. That's for sure. I remember, I'm talking early 90s. They had this thing called floppy disks. Kids won't know about it. Cards, anyway. Point being, you had mechanical typewriters, and my boss had an EA that would type like a dozen letters a day. The expectation was this person, right, 90 words a minute. You remember electronic typewriters came in, the expectation changed, and now it was you could generate about 20 letters. My point being, you have to keep in mind that expectations for people coming to the workforce today are going to be very different from when I got into the workforce, for example. So that's one aspect just to be aware of. Two, I do think that when you think about kids today, used to be having access to knowledge and information was a differentiator in itself. Some of you may remember there were these things called libraries, which had this paper stuff that you went and tried to find a volume that somebody else had taken before you, and you couldn't get access to that information. And you couldn't retain most of it, right? So retention of information, access to information, that went away with Google predominantly. So what changed now? What changed is that information is not just accessible and retained, it can now be explained to you at the level where you are so that you can get an understanding and comprehension beyond what we could 2-3 years ago, right? I would read a journal article in a scientific journal, and I'd be like, boy, I don't remember this. Now you can try to get a lot more understanding about what's the background and how does this thing work so that you can say, oh, I understand. So it's not just about information, not just about knowledge anymore. I think it will be more and more, depending on the field you get into, about the way you use that to create differentiated value. And some fields, it'll be more evident. For example, recently I had 2 admin assistants that supported me, that question that was asked, so if even not 1, 2. One focused on travel, one focused on my day-to-day, because I traveled a lot. So now, here you go, right? That type of a job has been becoming easier and easier to automate over time. But my son's in the final year of medicine at Northwestern. You talk to him, he's wanting to be a surgeon. You talk to him about the impact of AI. He'll look at you deadpan and he'll tell you, by the time I retire, I think they will have stuff that'll replace stuff that I'm doing partially. Why? Because humans don't change that fast. Try getting the system to agree to allow me to cut you up with a robot. It's not that easy, right? So you've got to understand where you are and how defensible. In the theory of economics, we'll use the idea of moats. What is the moat you can build around you to protect yourself, is how I would think about it.
Before I ask any other questions, I was wondering if anyone in the audience had any questions they'd like to ask the panel? Oh, lots of them. Does someone have, do we have a runner?
So as far as AI adoption is concerned, I see 2 paradigms in today's world. One is on the technology side, how to leverage AI to, fast track your SDLC or ship your product faster to customer. The other side is the business, right? A lot of organizations, as you explained, approach this in a very systematic, practical way. Setting up a governance board, what can AI do, what can AI not do. But a lot of cases where I'm talking to customers and peers, I find that there's a mandate from the CDO, FOMO, we need AI adoption across businesses, right? Whether it is finance, accounts, warehousing, whatever. But then it's given to a vice president of technology and he doesn't know what to do with it because he's not getting cooperation from business. But from whatever you gentlemen and lady discussed, how did you see this challenge and tackle it? I'm quite interested to understand because I'm hearing this from a lot of people today on tackling adoption in business, or to put it in a better way, crack the resistance from business to adopt AI.
I think there's very little that can convince somebody better than a working prototype. And so we've had a lot of success with building out solutions to help, especially the executives, more senior executives. It takes a little bit more time for them to get their head around it. Maybe they've spent less time personally playing with it. And so just demos, like we did a demo of advanced voice mode chat with ChatGPT, and just, 15 ideas came out of our executives on, oh, we could actually use this for this thing, or we could use it for that thing. And that's a pretty interesting opportunity. I never even knew AI could do that. So demos and prototypes has been very powerful.
Yeah, I'll say a couple things. Definitely this is in the area of technology-driven innovation, which can be a dangerous area because in some ways you have a hammer and you're like, where's the nail, right? So to make sure that technology-driven innovation actually drives innovation and drives business outcomes, there are several things to do. I wholeheartedly agree with this opens up possibilities that for the first time in a while, back in the 90s as an IT person, you were showing executives things that they didn't know could get done. For a long time until this has come up, they've now been ahead of us and say, we want to do these 17 things, we get it. This is a little bit more, again, of the aha, I didn't know we could connect those dots. So the ability to demo and show and start to drive those conversations and those relationships is an important step. I think the other important step is around metrics and alignment in terms of outcomes, right? So it's definitely the what's in it for me. If you're talking to the CFO and they're charged with driving down OpEx by X%, this is a great area to do it. If you're talking to revenue and it's around the go-to-market strategies, et cetera, you have to align what we're trying to solve, what's really hard to solve, and specifically, again, which is another problem from a technology standpoint, why this is specifically the right approach. Because a lot of times people are saying we need AI. I have a whole long list of, here are the 17 places we need AI. It's like, well, that's actually ML, that's actually just workflow, and that's actually just data. So we'll help you solve your problems. Let's get there, alignment, and sometimes it's going to be an AI solution.
Well said. I think let's start with just accepting for a minute there is something called a trust deficit that has been built over about 20 years of selling people solutions that don't deliver, even though we all acknowledge the world has changed, right? If you start from that point of view, the second thing I want you to think about for a minute is if you're talking in an organization, I generally deal with very large organizations, that's been my life. So I'm not dealing with small companies, other than the time I did my startup in AI, that's a different world. When you're talking to large corporations, if you're talking to technology people generally, you're actually talking to people whose goal is to spend money. And I led BD organizations also across companies. So, when you're doing sales, you've got to understand who you're dealing with. If you're dealing with the tech person and you're trying to sell to them, what's in it for them? Generally, it's they want to be able to put it on their resume that they tried some new technologies, they're innovative so they can get the next job, right? That's how they're thinking about it. So sorry to be cynical, but just bluntly. If you're talking to the revenue guy, you're talking to the CMO, talking to chief supply chain person, you're talking to the strategy, CEO, right? If you're talking CFO, if you're talking there, they're talking P&L impacts directly that impact their metrics, right? The best situation for you could be if you can bridge between the tech person that generally has a trust deficit and the business partner. If you can bridge between those two people and sell them the belief, right? All conversations then have to start with belief. The belief that I get more out of this investment than I can get somewhere else, you have a chance to get somewhere. At least that's how, when I ran business development organizations, sales organizations, that's how I would think about it, right? Is directly connecting their need to the solution I'm trying to sell.
Do we have time for one more question, I think? time for two? Yeah.
This question's for Kevin. You mentioned that the consultants get paid for the time they bill, but AI is making things much faster to accomplish. So how are you managing getting clients to, if you're doing it this way, or maybe you have a different answer, to understand that the price now is about the value delivered, not the time spent?
So without trying to do too much of a West Monroe commercial, we did lean into fixed fee value pricing 20 years ago. So we use time as a measure. So it's like, okay, we think this is going to take this much, but here's the value. But we do say, okay, XYZ consultant, you should be able to bill 1,600 hours of your time for the year, kind of thing. So it's a disconnect. The conversation with the client's the same. It's all about the value. The back-end performance measures of how an individual is measured is where our specific challenge is. So there's a lot of movement in the professional services around here about how to price differently, how to have that conversation, how to have aligned metrics, performance gain contracts, so that like, hey, I'm going to come to you, we're trying to solve this supply chain issue, and if we reduce the time from here to here, it's worth this to you, and our contract will be for 10% of that. Those kinds of conversations and those metrics that you agree on and gain share is where it's all going.
And you're finding them to be receptive to that approach?
It's based on the relationships. Some win, some way that's way out there, but I think a lot more than, say, 3 years ago.
So I use AI almost every day, and I use ChatGPT, Box AI, and Copilot, which I swear stalks me, which drives me crazy. But I find, and I do everything from research to try to figure out formulas to put into models and blah, blah, blah. But it hallucinates. I mean, it definitely does. And so I scream within my organization, and I work for an insurance company too. I tell everyone, you have to double check what it's telling you, or big mistakes can happen. So we're all excited about it. It definitely cuts down time dramatically, at least for me and what I've done. But how do you ensure that your staff really understands what they're using, and when they're getting to the point where it is hallucinating, you know, what to do? Because huge mistakes can happen.
It's a great question. Every so often somebody will be like, oh, you rolled this tool out, that means you guys fixed hallucinations, right? So I can just trust it now? And it's like, no. I mean, I'm sure a similar answer, like we reiterate every time we talk about it that ultimately the human is accountable for validating the content. I heard a rule of thumb, which makes a lot of sense, that you shouldn't use generative AI for something if it takes you as long or longer to fact check it as it would have been to do it yourself in the first place. We try to talk about that. I don't know if there's no sort of magical solution to this. I do, like, in smaller audiences, I joke around that you should think of AI as a drunk intern that's like very good at things and very bad at things, and it's like an adventure to figure out which, and it might change day to day. So, and also we're doing this big AI August knowledge upskilling initiative this month, and we're having a people leader forum in a couple weeks. And one of the things we're going to talk about is, interestingly, studies are showing that the people who are best at working with AI are people managers who are used to working with underperforming staff, because you know that you can't expect perfection the first time. You need to iterate on what you get back from it, and we just continue to try to reinforce the messaging. But people send me stuff almost every day, like, look, it hallucinated. Yes. It absolutely did. And stop asking it why it hallucinated, because it's just going to make up an answer. It can never tell you why it got something wrong.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Today, the U.S. government said yes to Claude, Perplexity, and OpenAI as a source of LLM for it. So they have taken it as that is the true system.
But they still hallucinate.
Yeah, they put a seal of approval to that conversation, but they are using it.
Without getting into the government conversation, but thank you. I think the bigger challenge is not that you're finding it's hallucinating. The bigger challenge is you are not finding it's hallucinating. I started out by saying that you're seeing more use in internal decision-making and cost structure conversations than you are on the revenue side. And one of the big reasons why revenue side conversations I've had, working with some large consulting firms that you've probably heard of, but one point being advising them some of the stuff, the challenge that you are always seeing is that the risk to your brand when you are 99.9% correct in your communications. Let's say you're Kraft, okay? Let's say you're Kraft. How much of your value will go away in the stock market if you are 99.99% correct and you have one communication out of the 10 million communications that go out every month that says something that is so off-brand that it offends people? And how much are you going to save in that process that you could justify that decision, right? There is nobody that's going to make that decision, and that's generally the conversation that will happen inside a boardroom where people will say, not doing it. Not ready for those kind of conversations. Having said that, I'm like you. I use these tools all the time because they really augment productivity. And you know what? There's a lot of stuff that I have no knowledge about. That I say, act like you are this expert, give me some information. Oh, that's interesting. I could have spent an hour searching on Google. Worth it.
Okay, one last question.
Everyone gets a question.
Thank you. I think talking about the revenue side of the house and talking about being able to use AI on that side of the house, I think it connects to your last point that you were making, that we're not ready yet. I think organizations, we've done protein folds with new protein folds, new innovation with AI, but most organizations are not ready to say, okay, we are going to take this in our R&D, we're going to take this in our innovation, we are going to take this on new market strategies. That has not come. Where they're getting comfortable is the operational efficiencies, is, okay, take the process, make it 30% efficient, yes, and we will charge 10% for it. That's where they're getting comfortable now. This is the first year I've seen them getting comfortable, but they are not ready to take it to their R&D side or the revenue side.
It's interesting you said that. So you retire, you get bored, and then people reach out because they say, hey, need help. Not that they think you know something you probably don't. But anyway, point being, helping a couple of large corporations working through their GCC setups in India. So fascinating. You were talking about cost savings and so on, right? The offers you're seeing are actually implicitly saying, I will put generative AI, and the market norm is this, and we will get you here, right? So the assumptions are getting baked in. Now, as these things are happening, in talking with friends and peers, what I'm finding is that you're finding more receptivity overseas where they're on the hook to deliver that value to tools like this versus here where you're on the receiving end of the value.
100%.
Right? So it's where the imperative is.
India is running behind it, talking about pull. They are going crazy with products and everything else.
So is the Philippines and Colombia.
So is Middle East, but it's crazy how latent we are in the West. And unfortunately, we're still talking about governance. Instead of saying, let's make mistakes, we'll figure out governance. We are starting with, no, let's put barricades first, then we'll figure it out. Whole different conversation, but that's where we are.
Yeah. So although I totally agree to the fact that students, like tech students especially, they shouldn't forget their roots in coding, Mark Zuckerberg has decided like recently to bring about a whole new transition in recruitment process. He says you can use AI
Hello, hello. Yeah, sorry for the little change here, but I think thank you, panel, for this amazing discussion. So the next one we're going to have, which we are thinking about, we have been hearing a lot from the exec and everybody, right? So we want to bring in the students who are growing in this age of AI and get a perspective from them. So we would like to welcome the student panelists come here. And Nitin, I think you want to introduce the panel, give introduction to all of them. So Nitin, over to you.
Thank you. Sure.
Oh, thank you.
Hello. 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 Okay, this one works. Cool. So we're going to hear from some high school students on how they use AI, their views on AI, and everything else. So why don't we start with introductions?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Vivan. Just a short week, I'll be becoming a senior at Stevenson High School. I founded an organization called Bridge AI, where we work to help to empower young students to be change makers in the field. Beyond just AI, you know, I have a really big passion for computer science. I know that's a very vague term, but I feel, especially when it comes to using data, whether that be in research or projects or other endeavors, using that to make the most efficient pathway to the goal, I feel that is where, you know, I really try to focus my effort on. So I'll keep it in that, and I'll just pass it to Abhi over here.
Yep. Hey everyone, I'm Abhi, and I go to the UChicago Lab School just a few miles away in Hyde Park. And in September, I'm going to be a sophomore there. So yeah, I also have a great passion for computer science. I mean, I've helped out my dad with like his ResearchNet endeavors and creating like tech support, blogs, and et cetera, helping with all sorts of Python and other related activities and automating libraries. So I look to keep working with agents and automating workflows. So yeah.
Hello, my name is Alexandra. I'm going to be I am a rising sophomore at Walter Payton College Prep, and I don't actually have a super ton of experience with AI as compared to the people next to me, but I do hope to be publishing a paper soon, like I think this fall, and presenting it relating to computer sciences, and I would say I'm definitely more into mathematics overall, but I do have quite an interest in AI, and it's just, I'm very happy to be here, so. Do I just give this back?
I guess, yeah.
Just got to pass it. So I'm Nitin. I just graduated from Illinois Institute of Technology, Illinois Tech, this May, and I'm currently interning as an AI product manager at a legal tech company called Panto Response. So the first question for the panel is, tell us about your first encounter with AI. So it can either be a course that you took in school or an application where you saw YouTube and you're like, dude, this feed knows me better than I know myself. So what was your first encounter with AI?
I think I'll take the floor right now. So this was my freshman year in English class, and I'm just sitting at my desk. I'm doing some silent reading, whatever the activity is, and I'm sitting next to my friend. You know, we're just doing whatever we're supposed to be doing. And my teacher, Mr. Aguirre, he's a very funny person, right? Funny dude. So he goes, and he calls him like this. Very like slyly and whatever, but like he was kind of nervous. So he gets up, right? We just submitted our final essay for the semester. And you know, Mr. Aguirre tells my friend Jack, well, you know, this is beautiful. I love the prose, I love the analysis, but most of all, I love the evidence. I really want to just have a discussion with you. Let's talk about how in depth how you feel about the evidence. And of course, it's an essay, so the page numbers are cited. So my friend Jack, he's very scared because he goes to his book, goes to page 64, none of the evidence is there. No matter which page he goes to, nothing is there. And it really struck me, seeing my friend's face go like white in just like pure shock and horror, the fact that, he was in severe trouble. My teacher says, Jack, you're using AI. And that moment for me, although it wasn't necessarily me, I would say it taught me something, right? That AI isn't, a one and done savior, right? It's a tool. And without using that kind of philosophy of critical thinking and really having ownership over your own work, it starts to become more of a crutch rather than a tool that's supposed to be used. So I'll just leave my experience right there, and I'll pass it on to any of you guys want to.
Yeah. So I don't have such a succinct story like he does, but I've seen AI in many places. Like I've taken numerous computer science courses for Python and Java in middle school and freshman year. So I've kind of seen it there, and also like it's around you, like especially with voice AI, like with Siri, Alexa. Like even my BMW car has its own assistant. Like you could be driving hands full with like McDonald's, and you could be wanting to, hey BMW, take me home. So it's pretty convenient in that regard. Now there are limits with that also. Like it would be nice to not have such hard-coded things, because like as we've decided, as I've seen, like it doesn't pick up on all the words. Like if I say, hey, make this 60 degrees, it only, you have to say some keywords. So the goal is to expand that eventually and maybe get it for a more applicable, in a more applicable sense, so.
Yeah, I actually do have a story to share about this, and this was just a little bit earlier this year, my freshman year of high school, and I'm sitting in my English class, and there's already, for the past couple of years, there's already been a huge buzz about, oh, AI is this brand new tool, brand new technology, it's new and exciting, and my English teacher assigns us this essay in the sense where we're supposed to. So we had just finished reading our book, and we're meant to ask AI about, and we're meant to discuss and debate with AI about its own perspectives, and sort of write an essay about how it changes perspectives as well, depending on the questions that you would ask about it. And it's just, my English teacher actually gave a really, really thoughtful speech in the very beginning as he was presenting the assignment, stating, of course, that we weren't meant to be using the AI to write our essay, but the sense that we're supposed to learn from it and learn from its perspectives, because AI is just this tool that it takes information from so many different sources that it's sort of, I was just pretty interested about it, and I mean, yeah, that was about it.
Just pass it back to Nitin over here.
That's cool. So a takeaway is that English teachers are super updated about AI, because both of you all had English teachers. So my next question is, as everyone's starting to use AI to help with assignments, to assist with assignments and stuff, identify one human skill that has become more valuable to you because AI can't replicate it, at least today.
I feel, over my experiences trying to help build a community with my organization, Bridge, I truly feel, from a student perspective, one of the most important things, someone can do when they're developing with AI or trying to use it in a project, right, is really having that, in my opinion, uniquely human character of like storytelling, right? I feel when you're really passionate about your craft, right, when like with dedication, you mold a story, right? You know the exact purpose, the exact reasons that make you want to do something. I feel without that kind of fire, drive, and kind of, what's the right word? Kind of motivation. It's hard for other people to see the right path that you're also going on. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I feel having that your own sense is really important as well.
Yeah, so I thought you covered the bases pretty well, but adding on to that, humans are great, right? They have a more very developed like brain and everything, and they really provide that critical higher order thinking and the emotional intelligence, because AI agents they provide the quick repeatable access to things that you need to be done, like all the mundane tasks, and it allows for the humans to kind of fill in the rest. So that's what I'll say is a human quality that really can never be taken away by robots or AI.
Okay, I'm just gonna say that I'm pretty sure there's a huge sort of almost assumption or stereotype around that, students, now that AI is such an accessible tool and it's so easy, you can just look it up online and immediately use it. And I feel like there's such a buzz around that students, especially like, I don't know, in this newer generation, I suppose, that they just use it for all their new assignments. But giving my own perspective as a student, I guess I know of a couple of people that actually use AI, but to be honest, there's not that many people that necessarily use it to complete their work, just to, because it is an incredibly helpful tool, but especially with the implementation of teachers needing to have us turn in assignments on specific websites that check for AI, it's just so, I guess there's so much of an effort that needs to be put in by teachers, especially just because of this AI tool that is now so accessible. And it's just, I'll just say that.
Yeah, there's definitely effort being put by teachers. We have Dr. Fortnow, who's wrote something about it. So so that's super cool to hear that you're empathizing with the teachers as well. So I'm curious, how is the rise of AI-assisted coding changed your views on entering the tech workforce? Are you more excited about it because every engineer can do so many things faster and better, or are you like, okay, tech is not for me, I'll have to explore another career, or are you just like, I don't care, you're indifferent? So what are your views on that?
I feel, just to start, I wanted to agree with Mr. Rajeeve, I don't know where he is in the audience right now, said in the last panel, where things evolve over time, right? In the tech field, things are constantly changing, year to year. Honestly, at this point, right, month to month. So I feel that the core principles of computer science, right, the things that people have been learning for decades now, will evolve, but the core understanding is something crucial to be a good developer. In one of the projects that I'm building right now, Spectrum Lens, which is something that I'm building with a partnership with a nonprofit that tries to help people with on the autism spectrum. I kind of have 2 days where I like to start building things. I like to have an AI on day where I do use some AI tools, right, to kind of develop quickly, to just kind of brainstorm, to kind of use AI as a tool to spark my critical thinking rather than to limit it. And once I've kind of built those frameworks, right, I kind of know what's going on. The second day, I'll just sit down, I'll use my knowledge of coding that I know so far, and I'll try to make like a structurally sound product. And I feel, of course, I'm a student, so I'm still in that process of learning, but I feel even at higher levels, that kind of sense of ownership that you feel when you make something by yourself or with limited assistance stays. And I feel understanding that is crucial to building reputable, robust works. So I'll give it over to you.
Yeah, that was good. So, I think that AI is super useful, and not just in the developer space, but also in like many other fields, right? Like in medicine, as I forgot who was saying, but in the previous panel, with like the surgeon thing, and how it can totally overwhelm the medical space too. So it really has applicability to all areas of expertise. So I think kind of branching out is gonna happen in the near future.
So I'm just gonna be honest and say, especially when I'm coding, right? It's really, really helpful to have the little AI like chatbot next to me, like literally right there. And if I run into an error or an issue, it can pretty much just help me resolve that, explain that. And I'm currently in the participating in the Girls Who Code summer program. One of the speakers from the previous panel actually, one of the speakers from the previous panel actually did give a whole talk about it just a couple days ago. And just with AI in this just having AI in code, I would say it is incredibly helpful. And I'm going to be honest, I'm actually not necessarily looking into a future of technology, but I can say that for the people that I know that are going into technology, it is an incredibly just helpful tool to have with you.
Cool. It's nice to see like all of you are like super optimistic about entering tech and stuff, so that's super cool. And I also liked your AI on day, AI off day. So I use a corollary of that. So I use an AI off session, like maybe 30 minutes or so, where you just use your brain, so to speak. So that's super cool to hear that you're also doing that. So the question is, how do you balance using AI tools to help with your research and schoolwork while also maintaining the originality of your work, of your thoughts and everything else? Like, how do you, like, first of all, like, do you do that balance at all? And if yes, how do you do it?
If it were to be kind of how I try to balance, I feel the biggest thing to understand is the effects that solely relying on AI or like not really sparking that art of critical thinking really has. I feel, I'm not an academic, but I remember that the MIT Media Lab recently came out with a study. They had their participants write essays with and without, GPT and other AI models. And, it showed that those who wrote, without these models had a greater sense of, not only a sense of ownership in what they wrote, but also had more brain activation, right? And I feel understanding the core principle that AI should be a tool, right? Something that kind of is a aid to the immense power, which, Abhi was talking about, is your brain, right? We're humans, right? That's kind of like what we are, right? We're our brain. But I feel truly understanding the fact that, it's important to be your own person, and that's what truly separates, us from an AI or any those sense of critical thinking. I feel understanding that really contributes to me having that personal motivation of, trying to rely on myself more than I don't.
Yeah, so adding on, I think AI is really great as a starting tool. Like, say I need some quick, rapid-fire notes about, say, my 20 sources about galaxies, and I need quick notes so I can understand the material quickly. First of all, Google search has that great because we now have Google Gemini AI overview, so that's really quick to get bullet points. Also, you can use stuff like Notebook LM. So this is great for gaining like general information, but AI really, its limiting factor is like for finding those quotes in like a book or something. That's where its limitations are. So especially for like an English-based course or something, really the ideas are in your head for how you interpret it. AI is more of like a hard, definitive thing, while your brain can be more artistic and creative.
I was sort of hinting at this earlier, but I feel that there's a huge assumption that students just use AI super, super often in writing their essays and writing whatever they need to do for their class and their courses. But to be honest, and I know this is pretty, okay, to be honest, I know a hefty amount of people that actually really disagree, especially with teachers and stuff, that really disagree with the use of AI, and it's like, in the sense that if you use it to write your essays for you, then it's pretty unoriginal and just, you don't, and it does lead to a lack of understanding about the actual thing that you wrote about. But I know it is an issue that students use it ton, and that's in the sense that's why teachers do need to implement the resources to check for AI usage and AI just, oh, did AI write this essay for you? And they need to have all of these different ways to check for it. But I would still say that there is a huge over-exaggeration in the amount of just thought, just an over-exaggeration in how much students actually do use AI, because, I mean, I'm going to admit that I do use it as sometimes like to prompt something, but more than that, it's not necessarily like people that do actually want to learn in school don't just purposely go out of their way to not like dedicate, like, to not use it to write their own stuff. So yeah.
I also wanted to say one last thing on this question. Recently, OpenAI came out, on their GPT models, a new mode, right? Study and learn. And I was discussing with some of my, with my team at Bridge AI. I would think we should totally use this. Why? Because we were experimenting with it, and it just said things step by step. So if you want to learn about a topic like galaxies, for example, right? Instead of just giving you all the information outright, which I feel does kind of inhibit that critical thinking, that kind of like drive for learning, it kind of does have that step-by-step exploration process. So I just wanted to say that I'm really happy that, companies are starting to understand the importance of that kind of one's own journey in obtaining knowledge. So yeah, I just wanted to say, I think that's something that I feel more of models should try to implement, and that is something that I feel more students are going to be using in the future as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's like, I loved everyone's opinion on this, and especially Alexandra's, because people will do whatever they want to do, right? Like, it's okay. Like, let them do whatever they want to do. And then, yeah. So that was super cool. So before we move into the rapid fire section, I want to open it up to the audience. So if you all have any questions, you can raise your hand.
I have a question. Okay. How frustrating is it for your generation that we still judge you based on whether you use ChatGPT or not? Is it our generation got judged whether we use logbooks or calculators, and that was frustrating. I mean, I solved it. I know the logic of it. It's your prompt. You've created it. Even if somebody added to it, how frustrating is it for your generation? Because it's frustrating as my kids, like, why do you care? Why do you care whether I created or ChatGPT created?
Do you guys want to answer?
Okay. So just to answer that, I suppose, where it's not necessarily the factor, at least for me, it's not necessarily the factor of people getting upset that I'm using AI, but more if my teacher comes up to me and is like, hey, I know you used AI for this, but then I actually didn't, because a lot of the AI detectors, like a lot of the AI check detectors that teachers use to see if you used AI to write your essay or not, they're not entirely like 100% accurate, not necessarily, and it's more the frustrating aspect, especially if you get falsely accused of using it, and it's like, well, you put your time and effort into that, right? So, yeah.
So yeah, I don't really know if it's like frustrating in a way, but I do feel like the right people will use the right form of AI when they need to use it. So it's really up to them. Like AI comes in all kinds of forms. You have picture AI, generative AI. We have Grammarly to help transform your essays. We have like photo math. You can like scan in a math problem. It'll show you the step by step. So it's really just up to you how you want to explore your learning and what AI tools selectively you want to use. So that's what I would say.
I feel that I agree with everything that these two have said so far, and yeah, I feel just see what else.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions there.
First, I want to commend you all for doing a phenomenal panel. I am very impressed with all the knowledge that you shared, and I am kicking myself because I have twin daughters who are entering their senior year at Whitney Young, and I was unsuccessful in getting them to join me in tonight's event, but I will make sure when I get home, they will get an earful. But one of the things I've talked to them about, but I'm really going to hammer in, I watched a 60 Minutes segment not too long ago that talked about a new tool that teachers and students are both embracing. And it is Khan Academy's version of AI. Are you shaking your heads like you've heard about this? I think they call it Khan Amigo. And for those of you who haven't seen or aren't familiar with it, I was blown away. Because what you guys are describing, a lot of teachers are going at it from a policing standpoint with AI. These teachers were embracing it and understanding that this was a tool that didn't just help the students with their critical thinking and learning and getting the knowledge, but it helped them be better teachers in terms of being able to spread themselves around. And to me, there's a lot of analogies associated with how it's in the workplace. There's a lot of resistance to AI in the workplace because it's like, am I rendering myself obsolete and that sort of thing. And I think, if everyone could take the positive aspects of it and really embrace and lean in, I think that would be very helpful. So I wanted to get you all's thoughts about that, if you've used it and what your impressions of it. And then the other thing is, you talked about it being used in industry. So I recently learned about a new product called Open Evidence. Has anyone heard about Open Evidence? So Open Evidence is a tool for physicians where they can tap into all the data that is available to help them solve patient issues. And there was a situation that happened, a use case where they were talking about a physician, on an airplane and a patient gets sick and it's not in their area of expertise. And because they had an Open Evidence license, they were able to gather data, find out how critical it was that they do a turnaround and get off the airplane as soon as possible, or whether they could, wait until they safely landed and get them assistance. And the doctor was like, this tool enabled me to do things I did not, I would not have been able to do. I did not have the depth of knowledge to know how to handle this, but with this Open Evidence information, it helped me. And so I think these are great stories that we should share, and we should use it to help everyone get more comfortable with the artificial intelligence and it being utilized in a positive way.
David, one of the... Hi, folks. Very excited to see you guys up here. So I'm going to come at this question from a slightly different angle. So I'm way over here in startup world where AI is around us and everyone here is riding the wave and fully embraced it. So I'm actually curious, are there any people in your lives who have fully embraced, specific people, teachers, influencers, who are helping you prepare you for the quote unquote real world, who are all for AI and just say, hey, there are some things, embrace it, but there are some things that you should learn. I'm curious if there are people in your lives that are like that, and what are they trying to get you to learn?
I feel first I want to go to the first question. I feel going based off those, the specific example of Conmigo, right? It is a tool that I have used, and I think thinking back about the tool, what made it so structurally sound was the fact that it didn't give the student immediately all the answers, right? The student had to work and understand the concept behind, but it used AI to help make that learning process more streamlined and just overall more accessible. And I really feel that that is an example of a win-win in terms of AI technologies, right? Not only are students, right, having the opportunity to have their learning experience accelerated through these tools, right? But teachers don't have to go worrying around my Mr. Aguirre about, none of the evidence in your paper is actually real, right? They don't have to worry about that. And I feel by kind of having this social contract of trust, right, between, the AI, users versus, whoever's kind of, giving a task, I feel having that understanding of how you're going to use it in a responsible way, that really goes the long way. To answer Mr. David's question, I would say personally, I don't really know that many people who have fully embraced AI. I feel, especially at my level, we're all just students here. We haven't even
Just to interrupt you, I'm sorry. Like, is there anybody in your life who's like, hey guys, listen, you must embrace it. Like, don't like. So somebody else in the audience brought up this example of, I can't imagine. Back when I was in high school, but you shouldn't Google anything. You have to be able to use the library. You have to be able to, Dewey Decimal. Like you won't have access to this information in the real world. You won't have access to a calculator, and like all of those things were ridiculous, and I think slowed down like the progress of learning and adoption. So the question is there anybody that's taking the opposite approach, saying you must embrace this, but to get into the real world, there's some other skills that you should learn because everyone will embrace this. So how do you become like a functioning member of society? Asking as a parent.
Honestly, I would say that no. I would feel that a lot of people in, especially in the school system, I feel, I would say the high school system, of course, that's kind of a place where kids have to learn these kind of like core life skills. There isn't that kind of sentiment of, use the tools at your disposal, right? And kind of use your kind of best judgment to create something better. And I feel that is something that can be changed. But I feel the hard part comes in is how do you kind of balance it? It's kind of this like intricate balancing act, right? How do we make sure that, kids are able to kind of use these tools to kind of be the most efficient version of themselves, but also how are they able to use these tools and still kind of keep that human sense of what I've been saying this entire panel, right? Critical thinking. So I feel that's a hard question. I feel I've been yapping too much, so I'll give it to
Yeah, so I'll keep it brief. So I really think the main issue right now is the educational system. It's not really forward thinking. Like it's still stuck back in like the 40s when they used to use like all kinds of basic tools to complete their learning, right? So by embracing these AI tools, we can speed up the learning process in a way that's more fun to learn, and also create a better schooling environment. So that's what I think.
These two pretty much said like everything, but a specific person I would say that actually like uses AI a lot is my mom, ironically, and because I'll just be like, I don't know. The other day, we were filling out this document or something, and I don't even know. And then I was like, oh, well, do you want me to, I don't know. There's like a writing portion, something like that. And I'm going, oh yeah, I'll write this later. And she's like, no, we're gonna use AI right now. And it's done in like 5 minutes. So, well, Mom, you're not supposed to do that, Technically, you're not supposed to use AI on that. But yeah, she was literally just telling me the other day. It's like, no, Sasha, like I use AI like so often for literally everything. And I'm like, yeah, all right. But it's pretty much just.
I think there's a question here.
So yeah, so I have
last question.
Okay, so great discussion and a lot of good points there, right? But yeah, I think if you guys I'm presuming you guys are Gen Alpha and late Gen Zs, right? So just to understand that, if you could briefly add like what's one fear with AI? What's that one fear? Maybe one of you guys can maybe add, like what's that one fear that you'd like to highlight? Because there's a lot of researchers and senior leadership of Microsoft is there. It would be very valuable for them to understand that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the main fear going around with everyone in the space is AI is taking over the world. It's taking away people's jobs, and maybe it's true to some extent, but again, you need that critical thinking is never going to be taken away. So that is a fear, but I feel like AI used in conjunction with human brilliancy is what creates the best future products and how we advance in the 21st century.
I feel, me personally, the biggest fear that I have going to the future about AI is blind trust. I feel, of course, I mean, this entire conference we've been talking about, the power of AI, right? Its power to make things efficient using data. But I feel there are still problems that exist. And that's fine, right? All tech is going to have problems. We fix that. That's just how the development cycle works. But if I were to go back to the last panel, right, the kind lady over here was talking about, right, hallucinations, right? And all these different things, which are okay, right? Because, we're learning, we're building the product, things are coming along. But it's important for, not only for the developer, right? But the user as well to kind of have, again, what Abhi was saying, right? About this whole idea of critical thinking, right? I feel kind of being human and putting that idea of originality on a pedestal will kind of save us from that fear that I'm kind of outlining right here. So I'll leave my thoughts there.
I would probably say that my biggest fear, ironically, is right now I'm sitting at this panel, right? And we're all, just as you were saying, sitting at this panel, we're totally empowering the use of AI. But just as a really similar point to what the other two were literally just saying, but it's just that you don't want it to necessarily overpower your own thoughts and your own prompts and your own ideas that you might have regarding whatever you might want to write. And it's just, I feel that we shouldn't necessarily heavily abuse the power of AI, even though it is incredibly helpful. But I feel that a lot of people overuse it and tend to just use it for the wrong purposes, and that's sort of my biggest fear about it.
Thank you, everyone. I think this is an amazing talk. One quick announcement: we have the pizza and some drinks out there. If you want to grab and come back, then we can continue the last segment of this session. I'll be back in 10 minutes here.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay. I don't know. Oh, yeah. have some water. It's like deep learning, deep fish, deep neural networks. Everything's deep. You gotta go deep into the problem and solve it, right? That is deep. Yes. Deep in thought. Hopefully I have some power here. Oh, here, okay. Are you the final speaker? Yes. You know, I'm launching my research. It's one of the startups. This is the main startup. Actually, two are related. So open development. That keep as so I think whether to keep that as. No longer with IBM. So anyway, so I was thinking about splitting. What we have done is over a period of is still the outreach. Very good. Thank you for organizing. You're not leaving, right? No. Okay. Hey, over. Hey, are you leaving? So so Jeff Terry is a professor of physics. Okay. All kinds of things and Illinois Institute of Technology. So and I do I have the privilege of working with him on the telescope. Yeah. So we have telescopes that have a lot of fun every semester. Which reminds me of when that happens. And I have automation stuff in place now, so you can automate a lot of this stuff. Got to be coming up real soon. I don't know when. Later in August. September 17th, 20th. It's that close? Yeah, it's got to be getting pretty close. Yeah, just text me. Yeah, don't worry. I texted you, you didn't reply like this one, but at least it's not in my way because I.
Oh, you want to move it out of the way? We can just move way over here.
Oh no, it's okay. It can stay here. I'll move this chair a little bit, so it's not on my. Yeah.
And you aren't using these. You're done with these chairs. You just take them away.
Okay. Let me know when we want to start. When we are ready. Let them start. Yeah, there's a good break. Yeah, yeah. I can. But how do I get it on this? Which one is the? Or is there a button or something? There's a. I did connect one of them. No, connect this one. Whatever. This one. Yeah, yeah. I have this one connected.
Control whatever that thing is. Screen share.
Oh, no, it automatically comes, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Usually it comes automatically.
Okay, let me disconnect this.
That was not working. Maybe this is working. No, other people just did, and then this.
Yeah, then we need David.
David. I'm slow. We have to like for him to do it. Screen mirror.
Or mouse.
মাঝে চলে যাবি এটা বলছিস নাকি? আমার অন্য অন্য ইয়েতেও আসিস মানে ক্রিকেট না আমার এ তো আমি দিস ইজ জাস্ট ওয়ান অফ দ্য মেনি মেনি ইভেন্টস
এতগুলো আয়রন ইন দ্য ফায়ার আমি বুঝতে পারি নাকি সো মেনি আয়রন ইন দ্য ফায়ার আমি বুঝতে পারি নাকি
রাবণ আমার ইয়ে 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 লিটারালি আমার কলেজে আমার নিকনেম ছিল রাবণ
বুঝতে পারছি আমার তো মানে বাড়িটা আমার তো মানে আমার তো মানে 10টা হাত তো
10টা
some kind of combination between Ravan and Madhugda. Perish the thought. কিন্তু Friday let's catch up. কাল করবো
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ কল করি ঠিক আছে